Hey guys, today our topic is going to be about bacterial toxins, bioterror agents, heavy metals, basically all of those other things that somebody could in fact be poisoned with. Looking at all the different types, I'm certain there's more that are out there. As forensic investigation continues, I'm sure there'll be more that are investigated. However, these are the top ones. Looking first at bacterial toxins, tetanus, usually produced by Clostridium bacteria. You've heard of getting a tetanus shot? Well, this is why. It can cause severe muscle spasms. Believe it or not, this is something that you could come in contact with that has actually been used before in different forensics cases. It's less known now than probably what it was way back when in the past. Then, of course, you have botulism. It's produced by a different type of botulism. It also causes problems with the muscles. Instead of them severely cramping up, it actually paralyzes the muscles so the person could not move. And eventually, of course, it's going to paralyze smooth muscles as well, which means they're no longer going to be able to breathe. Botulism was something that growing up with family that canned a lot, we always were worried about to make sure the can had actually sealed. In other words, it didn't make that poppy sound when you pressed on the top of the lid. Because if it did make that pop sound, there was a chance that oxygen had gotten into the container or that it didn't seal properly during the canning process. And then, of course, this bacteria could have grown, and if we'd eaten those green beans, then, of course, we could have suffered as a result. If you go to the grocery store and you ever find a dent sale, which means there are cans that they're selling cheaper because they have dents, that's the reason they put them on sale, is because there is a greater chance of having botulism as a result of eating food from those dented cans. As a rule of thumb, if you can press on the can and it doesn't move, chances are it's still sealed. However, me personally, being raised around parents and grandparents that said, no, you don't ever touch a can that's got a dent in it because of botulism, I don't take my chances. So it is one of the most poisonous biological substances. That's all natural. There's no man-made influence in those that can be found as bacterial toxins. Next, I wanted to introduce you into some of the pesticides. Yeah, they can use pesticides that they kill bugs for to, of course, cause murder with humans as well as some of the heavy metals. So if you're looking at pesticides, one of the big ones that was a major deal and caused a lot of fear in particular in the 70s and 80s was DDT, and it basically was sprayed everywhere over all large crops, and we didn't realize that it was deadly to humans as well as at the time. So we started seeing more interactions with humans because it got into drinking water. However, even at that point in time, they still continued to use it. They did stop using DDT in the U.S. as a result of trying to protect the bald eagle, because DDT also would contaminate the fish that the bald eagles were eating, and therefore it caused the eggshells of their young to become very, very thin. And so when mama bald eagle would sit on the egg to keep them warm, she would essentially squish the egg and kill the bald eagle, and that was wiping out a large population of the bald eagles. From that, we decided it wasn't a very good pesticide to use, and we actually stopped using DDT in the U.S. at that point in time. It does interfere with muscle or nerves, your contractions of your muscles as a result of it. Before any of that, of course, happens, it'll have anxiety, seizures, twitching, all of those very brief interactions or symptoms, and of course it's going to gradually increase from there. Lead poisoning, we've already mentioned briefly. I talked about the Romans and their lovely piping systems, the aqueducts, and how they probably did have lead in their water. And as a result of that, they, of course, had major issues. Then, of course, there's mercury. Mercury was a problem and has become a problem in the U.S. as a result of paper manufacturing. Of course, right now everything's digital, so I guess we're not demanding as much paper. Mercury poisoning actually starts out as flu-like symptoms and then, of course, progresses. It is chronic, which means mercury builds up into your body over a long period of time until eventually it can cause death. There were lots of medications that contained mercury back in the day. If you've heard of mercurochrome, you know, that orange stuff that burned like crazy that great-grandma would chase you around to put on your cuts, at one point in time it did contain mercury. However, now it no longer does, so no worries there. Then the next heavy metals would be arsenic. We've talked a little bit about arsenic poisoning. You've seen some case studies where they did use arsenic. It used to be the drug of choice for a lot of female perpetrators. Within 30 minutes, it can cause death depending on how much arsenic you use. Chronic exposure, not so much. It can build up in the system, and in that case, it's hard to detect unless you know exactly what you're looking for. One of the things it does cause is lesions on the skin. It looks like blistering, in particular of the hands, is where it tends to show up. Here in the U.S., we have also noticed a problem with arsenic poisoning from water. So there have been water sources that have been contaminated with arsenic. Then, of course, you've got cyanide. Cyanide is another heavy metal. It is pretty quick. It causes the skin to turn a weird pink color. You learned about cyanide in one of the videos we watched before we went on this extended digital learning adventure. And then strychnine is another one. Usually you get it from inhaling it, or it can be absorbed through the eyes or the mouth. And this too, it can cause death within minutes. So it's another scary one that can take you out pretty quickly. Then, of course, you have your bioterror agents that everybody seems to be worried about. Me too, because I can only imagine what this could do if it was released on a large population. One of the most common would be ricin. Ricin actually comes from the castor bean. It is poisonous, even if it's inhaled in very, very small amounts. It can be poisonous. You can add it to food or drink. Usually it's not detected by taste. It can also be injected in the body. Death's going to occur within a few hours. TV shows like the show 24 have had episodes that involved ricin and protecting the population from ricin poisoning and other bioterror agents, but these have been in TV shows. That's not that unusual. So you may have heard of ricin before. And then last but certainly not least, that would be anthrax. Anthrax is actually produced from a type of bacteria referred to as Bacillus anthracis, hence where the name anthrax comes from. It can actually be spread to humans from animals if the animals are infected. It can enter the body through many different ways. You can inhale it, you can ingest it, it can be absorbed through the skin. Different ways to get this into the system. This is another one where they are extremely worried, and rightly so, for it being a bioterror agent, because this is something that they could put in what they refer to as dirty bombs and spread it across large populations. These are not typically things that you're going to see in localized murder trials. This would be something that you're investigating on a larger scale. For example, with Saddam Hussein, they had a strong theory that he was involved in and using anthrax in trying to develop some of these terroristic type of weapons. So there you go, guys. That's the last of our notes for your toxicology. Coming up soon will be your first digital true test that I'll post. So do make sure you go back through the notes. If you scroll through your Canvas page, you'll find under toxicology this whole PowerPoint that you have access to. Hope you guys are doing well. Talk to you later. Bye.